Hey guys, very good morning. Welcome to our webinar on iOS application development using Swift. So I can see Murari and Bob has joined the session. So thank you very much guys for joining this particular session. And in this particular session, what I am going to do is I'm going to take you through the workflow of how you can start developing the iOS applications. And also I will give you the quick review on. So basically what we will be doing, we will be also going through the syllabus that you will be taking as a part of iOS application development course, so which will give you a good idea on what are the things that you will be learning as a part of course. Okay, so before that, let's discuss the agenda. So what are the things that we are going to see today? So the very first thing that we are going to see is why you should go with the Swift programming. So what are the advantages that we would get using Swift? Because as we all know, for last 2 decades, where we were using the Objective-C programming language for writing the iPhone and iPad applications. But all of the sudden, Apple introduced Swift programming language. And now in one of the blog posts, the chief engineer of the Swift programming told us that for next 20 years, they have the plan ready. They have a roadmap, like what are the things that they are going to basically going to do. Okay, so we are going to see like why you should go with the Swift programming. Then the editor that we are going to use for writing the iOS application, we are going to use the Xcode 7 for writing the iOS application development. So Xcode 7 is the integrated development environment that we use for writing the iOS applications. So I will give you the quick overview of the Xcode. I'll be showing you what are the options that are available over there and how you can utilize those particular options, as well as how you can utilize those functionalities to create the beautiful iOS applications. Okay, after that we are going to see how the error handling is performed in Swift, as well as how the protocols are implemented. So again, these are some of the technical stuff, so that I will be explaining you in more details when we will come to those slides. Also, while writing the Swift applications, you have to make sure that you are actually targeting all the available devices. So it shouldn't be like that. If you are using the iOS 9 API, that app would not run on the iOS 8. So no, we should not do that. So we have to make sure that whenever I am writing the application using the latest SDK, using latest API, that application should also run on the previous versions. If you don't support the previous version, you might lose the market share. Okay, and finally we will see how you can create the beautiful applications using Swift programming language. Okay, so very first question is why Swift programming? So as I said, Objective-C was used for like 2 decades for writing iOS Cocoa application. So I'm saying Cocoa application because iOS came into the picture in 2007. Before that, we were having the Objective-C as a primary language for writing apps for the Apple platforms. Then starting with 2007, we were using the same language for writing the applications for the iOS platform. So it was like this language is present in market for more than 2 decades. But there were some drawbacks. So as we can see, the more older software language you will use, the more drawbacks will come into the picture, because that time it was not optimized for work on the latest compilers, on the latest configurations. It was more optimized to work on the lower end devices, right? So now you have got basically you have got computers with almost 60 GB of RAM. You have got computers with like 2 to 3 terabytes of hard disk. You have got quad-core processors. So I have to make sure that the language which I am using actually makes use of all those recent configurations. It makes the use of all those optimized configurations. So by keeping all these things in mind, Apple engineers decided that, okay, so let's not enhance Objective-C more. Let's go with the altogether new programming language, which is much easier to learn as compared to the Objective-C, and which provides much more flexibility while writing the applications, which provides much more power while writing the applications. So by keeping all those things in mind, Apple engineers came with the programming language that is called as Swift. So one of the advantages of Swift I would like to tell you is if you are a JavaScript programmer or if you have done some kind of HTML programming, you would find that the Swift programming language is very much similar to those. So in case if you are a web developer, there is a good news for you. You would not have to take a lot of efforts to learn the Swift programming language. It will come by default. And also you did not to worry about the tough topics, something like memory management and all those sort of things, because Swift handles those things automatically. So you can just concentrate on writing the actual business logic rather than concentrating on writing if else condition for handling memory and all those sort of things. There's a safety because it's a strongly typed language. You would always get a safety while declaring the data types. And it is built on the top of C++. So it has obviously got some advantages, but every language has got some disadvantages also. So Swift also has got some disadvantage, but I would say Swift is just in starting phase. So it's been just a year that Swift has started. And the way it is taking a pace in market, I'm pretty sure that in a couple of years, the Swift is going to become a top programming language, which will be used for writing the mobile applications. And one more good news, Swift has recently been open sourced, so we can expect more contribution in Swift. So maybe in the future, what you can do is you can have your custom hardwares and you can port the iOS operating system on your custom hardwares, because now it is open source like Android. So like it is a now very tough competitor to Android. And yes, definitely we are going to see the syntax of the Swift, and I guarantee you that you will find that the syntax is very much easier as compared to the Objective-C, and it is not at all scary. Okay, the next thing that we are going to take a look at is the Xcode IDE. Okay, so yes, definitely you can write a program in Notepad, you can write a program in Microsoft Word, yes, that is possible. But the reason we choose IDE, that is called as Integrated Development Environment, the main reason is it is going to help you to write a better code with less amount of errors and with less amount of development time. The reason is IDE are very intelligent. Whenever you write any particular keyword, they will automatically give you the suggestions. Do you mean to type this or do you mean to type that? So you don't need to take the efforts to remember all the syntax and all. You just need to remember the initials, and IDE is going to suggest you the rest of the things that we are going to see just shortly. So Xcode, installation of Xcode is pretty simple. What you will be doing is, in case if you are using the Apple platform, you just need to click on the App Store, and there you need to search for the Xcode. Okay, so installation is pretty simple. And also, guys, just pause me if you feel that something is not clear to you, or if you have any doubts. I will unmute you so you can ask me your questions. Okay? So don't wait for me to complete the things. So if you, whenever you have a question or whenever you have a doubt, just ping me over the chat window. I will unmute you, and you can ask me the question, and I will try to answer that. Okay. So as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm clicking on the App Store. There I'm searching for the Xcode. It will show me the file. I'm just going to click on that. And there you would be getting a download button. Okay. So right now we are getting an open button over there because I have already downloaded the Xcode. But in your case, if the Xcode is not installed, you will be seeing a download button. Okay. And as you can see over here, the size is almost 4.41 GB. So you might be wondering, what is the reason it is like 4.41 GB size? So one of the example I can give you, so if you ever downloaded the games, you would see that the games sizes are like almost, they're always like more than 2 GB, 3 GB. The reason is they have a lot of levels built in, they have a lot of sounds, they have a lot of graphics built in, and that's the reason it goes beyond 3 to 4 GB. In the same way, in Xcode also, there are a lot of things that are built in. Like you have got the simulators, you have got a lot of SDKs, you have got a lot of documentations, settings and all. And that's the reason it will go beyond 4 GB. But I would say that, yeah, you will have to take some extra efforts to download those 4 GB of software. But once you download it, that's it. You don't need to install any other plugins or any other software. You just need to start the Xcode, and you can start developing applications for the Apple Watch, Apple TV, iPhone, iPad. So all the iOS devices basically. So unlike any other softwares, you don't need to download dependencies, or you don't need to download any other small piece of softwares which are acting as a plugin to that main software. So here you just need to download the Xcode and you can open it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open the Xcode. Okay. And the very first thing that you will notice over here in the Xcode, you will see the version number of the Xcode. So I always make sure to update my Xcode to the recent version. So you can always take a look at the version and you will come to know. And on the right hand side, you will see all the list of recent applications that you have developed. Okay. So in case if you are opening this particular editor very first time, you will see the empty area over there. So there would not be any items over here. Okay, but so since I have been working on the Xcode, like it's been more than 6 months, so I have got a lot of projects which are queued up in this particular area. But in your case, you might see it empty. And the advantage that we get over here is you don't need to manually locate the project again if you want to open that. You can just click on any recent project, and what it is going to do, it is going to open that project for you, which is very handy. So I will just close the project. Okay. So now you can see over here, so you have got the Xcode screen, you are getting the version number, and there you are getting three options. One is check out an existing project. So what does it mean? It means that if you are working in the team environment. So what is meant by team environment? So I'll just give you the recap. So Git, I will search for the Git and I'll go into the images. So let's filter it. Okay. So let's take this particular example. So normally what happens is in your project there will be a lot of developers who will be working. So it's not like you will be the only person who will be working in the project. So you might have a developer 1, developer 2 who is working on the project, and ultimately what you want is whatever changes that has been made by the developer 2, you want those changes, right? Because he is also working on the app and you are also working on the app, and we should make sure that you are working on the app which is shared between each one of you, and it should be a similar copy. So in the basically team environment, what you do, so you might write a code, you will push it on the repository, which is a central location. Developer 2 might write a code, he will also push that code on the central repository, and in this way you are making sure that you are collaboratively working on the single project. So that's again, so Git is again advanced and vast topic, but it was just a basic introduction. So whenever you are working in the team environment, you will be always going with check out an existing project. Okay. So now we are left with two options: get started with the playground and create a new Xcode project. So create a new Xcode project, basically you will be using if you want to create the iPhone or iPad application. But if you want to just try out the Swift concept, which is, so this is a feature which I like most, because you would not see this feature in any other programming language. So the advantage that you get using this feature is you can just write a program and without compiling you will immediately see the output on the right hand side. So let me give you the idea about that. So I will say something like Magic Playground, click next. So there you can see. So whenever you're writing a Swift code, you can basically choose whether you want to write it for the iPhone, whether you want to write it for the Mac OS X, or whether you want to write it for the TV. So here I'm going to choose it as a iOS, and I'll just save it on the desktop. And okay, so let's give it some time because you can see the progress. It is running that. So whenever you create a new project, it might take a couple of seconds to set up that project, and once it is properly set up, then you can go ahead and you can start doing the things. Okay, so now you can see it is saying ready, and immediately you would see that on the right hand side I'm seeing the output. Okay, so let me check what comes out to be 2 plus 3, and you can see immediately seeing the output 5. So that's the beauty of Swift Playgrounds. So this is something new that Apple introduced with Swift. So the advantage is you can just try out different syntax and you can immediately see the output on the right hand side. So you can basically do a lot of things. So I can say string dot characters dot count. So I want to see like how many characters are there in that particular string. And if I save this particular thing, you would immediately see the output on the right hand side. There are 17 characters. So whenever you want to try out new stuff before putting that stuff into the project, you can always come here and you can try out this stuff. In fact, I can say, let's say I want to create a label. So I will say import. So UIKit is already there. So I can say let label is equal to UI label cdirect make 10, or I can say 0, 0, 30, 10. And I can say label dot background color is equal to UI color dot purple color. Label dot text is equal to magic label. Okay. So as you can see over here, what is happening is I'm writing a simple code for creating a label. Okay, and if I click on this okay, so let me. So whenever you go with the CG rect, it is going to ask you width and height. So width, let's increase it. Let's make it 130, and height, let's make it 110. And immediately when you will basically make a change, immediately you can see the preview. So if I click on this eye symbol, so you can see I'm getting a preview over there, or I can expand it over here. So I'll make it like 180, and immediately it is enhancing that. So you can do a lot of things over there. So I can say something like text color. So I want text color to be of white color, and so I can say label dot text alignment is equal to dot center. And what it is going to do basically, it is going to set the alignment. So unfortunately it is not reflecting over here, but ultimately if you run this application on the iPhone, it will put that particular label in the center of screen. So let me check what could be the issue. Oh, okay. So yeah, I got the error. So I should have expanded this. Okay. So this particular label, it is showing you changes that you have made in those 4 lines. But if you make any changes thereafter, you will have to click on the next output. So you can see, you can immediately see the outputs over here. So you can try out all the controls. So that's the beauty of using Swift Playground. Okay. So guys, any questions, any queries you have in the Swift Playground? Okay, it seems there are no queries. Okay, so I'll just move further. But at any moment, if you have any queries, please let me know. Okay, so it was all about the Xcode IDE that we saw. Okay, then also the one of the beauty of the Swift is it also supports the error handling. Because a lot of time it is going to happen that there will be certain logic which you have written inside your application, and it might be causing a crash, or there may be some fault, or there may be some issue with that particular code. So what you can always do is you can always write a code in the try catch block. So like other programming languages, Swift also provides the support for the error handling. So you can basically silently handle all the errors, and you can show the meaningful error messages to the user. So that's one of the advantages of Swift that you get over there. Okay, so one of the example that I would like to give you. So let's say you are basically writing an application, and basically what you are doing is you are modeling ending up for the car. And there can be a lot of reasons for the failure of engine. There might be no fuel, or there might be oil leakage, or there might be a low battery. Okay, so it shouldn't be like, so if user is driving a car, all of a sudden his car stops. So no, it doesn't make any sense, because he will be clueless what is happening. But if you show the error message to the user that your car has stopped because there is no fuel, or there is no leakage, sorry, there is a leakage. So he will get the meaningful context. He will get to know like, okay, so what I did wrong, or what is wrong with the car. So he can take the approach so that he can fix those issues. So in the same way, in your application also, if user makes any error or anything like that, so your application might crash. But at the same time, you should write a defensive code. So when your application crashes, so at very first thing is you should aim for your application should not crash ever. But in case if it crashes, it should crash with the meaningful error message. So it will not keep user basically. So user might keep wondering what he did wrong, or what is the issue the application has suddenly stopped. Okay, so we have to make sure that error handling should be done. And Swift provides a very beautiful support for handling the errors inside your application. So you can define all types of errors, something like this. So in case if you are coming from the Java background, you might have seen you will create a class which extends the exception class. In the same way in Swift, whenever you want to create a custom error class, you will always extend the error type. And you can define all the possible errors over there. Something like no fuel, oil leak, or low battery. And whenever you want to throw the error, so I have got 3 possible errors: no fuel, oil leak, and low battery. But tomorrow if you're writing some code, and if you're writing some business logic, and if you feel that this particular business logic might throw some kind of error, then you are just going to append a throw keyword over there. So what does it shows? It is basically denoting that this particular function check engine might throw the exception. Okay, so there is no guarantee, but it might throw. So if there is a no fuel, so check engine function might throw the exception, or it might throw the oil leak exception, something like that. So, how do you basically design the errors? So you will extend the error type class. So you can see, so I'm declaring something like if the fuel reserve is greater than 0.0, then it's fine, but else I'm going to raise the exception no fuel. If there is oil, okay, it's fine, but if there is not, then I'm going to throw the exception car engine error dot oil leak or low battery, something like that. So this is how basically you can throw the custom exceptions in the Swift. And so whenever you are writing, or so basically whenever you are writing a function which might throw the exception, what you will be doing? You will be basically using try keyword. So in case if you have worked on any object-oriented programming languages, you might be aware about the try keyword. So what does it mean? It means that it is going to try and execute that function, but there is no guarantee. There might be some exceptions as well. Okay, Swift 2 allows developers to basically define the protocols. So protocols are something like observables, or they are something like listeners in case if you have worked with the Java programming language. So using protocol, basically you can apply the callback mechanism. So let's say when user presses the key, so whenever user presses the button key or whenever user presses the button, I want to notify my application that button has been clicked. So please take the further action. So how you can do that? So you can do those things using the concept of protocols. So in short, protocols helps you to basically send the broadcast between different components inside your application. So Swift has a very good support for implementing the protocols inside your application. So like inheritance, whenever you have a protocol, you can also extend those protocols. Next thing is availability checking. So as I told you, whenever you're writing an application, we have to make sure that that application should also, so that application should also run on the lower end devices, right? So we have to make sure that whenever we are writing the application, it shouldn't crash on the lower end devices. It should run very well. So how you can make sure that? Using the availability checking. So using availability checking, I can make sure that whenever I'm using the latest API, and if I run that application on the older devices, it is not going to crash. It is just going to check, okay, so API is not available, so it might do something else. So let's take an example of animation. So if I'm using any animation API from iOS 9, and if you are running your application on iOS 8, so what it is going to do? It is going to check that there is no animation API, so it might perform some different animation, which is supported in iOS 8, something like that. Okay, so this is how basically Swift can help you out. So this is one of the example that we will be covering as a part of the course. So in this particular example, what you will be learning is you will be learning how you can create the applications which communicate over the network. So in today's world, if you see the like almost all the applications in today's world, they connect with the server, right? Because they are not the offline applications. Let's take an example of movie application. So I'm not going to hardcode the movie details inside the app. So every time you will be opening the application, what it is going to do? It is going to fetch the list of recent movies, and after fetching the list of recent movies, what it is going to do? It is going to basically show the information on the screen, right? Because every couple of days your movies are going to change. They are not going to remain constant throughout the year or something like that. So what I want, whenever user opens the application, it will fetch the details of all the movies from the network or maybe from the IMDb database, and after fetching those details, what it is going to do? It is going to show the information on the screen. So this is one of the examples that you will be doing as a part of course. So I would like to give you the demo for that. So as you can see over here, so this is a simple application that we have created. So a lot of Star Wars movies are coming up, but anyways, so it might take some time because it is going to download the images from the network. So it takes some time, but what it is doing basically, behind the scenes, it is connecting with the server, it is downloading the images, and it is showing those images on the screen. Okay, so this is how basically it is working. So this is one of the sample applications that you will be developing as a part of course, and this application will give you throughout idea on how to do the end-to-end application development. So it's not something like we are just going to create the images and all. Rather, we will be creating an end-to-end application where you will be beginning from the scratch. You will be writing UI, you will be writing the business logic, you will be writing the logic for downloading the images from the network, and you will be doing all those sort of things. Okay, so let me restart this application just to check if it makes any difference. So you can see, so whenever you are developing an application, you can also print the logs to see what is happening behind the scenes. So these logs will give you clear idea on what is happening basically over there. So yes, I will unmute you. Okay, so just give me a couple of seconds. Okay, so basically a lot of heavy images are there, so that's the reason it's taking some time. But it seems I got a question from, okay, so I have unmuted you. So I think, sorry, you forgot to mention your name in the chat panel, but that's fine. So yeah, please go ahead with your question. I have unmuted you.
Yeah, Vipul, hi, Vikrant here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Vikrant.
Yeah, question here is, could you please just let us know about the security aspect of this Swift 2? Because we know it's a programming language for the phone applications, etc. But the point is, what's the security around it, in the sense, how vulnerable is it to be hacked by someone, etc., etc. So if you can just touch base on that, that would be great. Yeah.
Definitely. So that's a very good question that you have asked me. So one of the beauty of so I would say that today you would find that the Android devices are present in the market, and they are almost like 50% lesser than the iPhone. But still, a lot of the corporate organizations and a lot of users, they prefer iOS. The reason is, very first reason is, Swift is open source, but your device hardware, it is not open source. So all the device operating system, it's not the open source. So hackers cannot get into the device operating system source code. You would find that there are a lot of hackings being happening in the Android because it is open source. You can entirely take a look at the Android source code, and you can see what are the things where the Android is lacking security, and hackers target that particular area. But iOS, it is built on the higher encryption standards. It is using C as its core, and there are a lot of best encryption libraries which are available in C programming languages. And the kernel of the iOS it's a Linux kernel. So all the processes which are executing in the iOS, they are executing in its own sandbox. So what does it mean? So whenever application is executing in its own sandbox, it is not allowed to see in other application sandbox. So it is like a private room which is given for each application. So you cannot have the malware which is installed on the iOS device and it is going to affect all the applications which are installed. And you would, if you try to search, you would not find any stories where user has accidentally downloaded the malware and it has basically corrupted all the applications on his device. So Apple has taken very good measures about that, and one of the good thing about the Apple is, so developer might hate that particular story, but when you submit the application on the iOS App Store, it is going to take at least a week till the time your application is get approved. The reason is they are going to make sure that your application is meeting all the criteria. It is not trying to spread any virus. So they have all the scripts which will run on your application, and your application will only accept it when they are pretty sure that your application doesn't contain any malware, any other software, illicit software or something like that. So they are taking very good measure about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So any other questions, Vikrant?
No, that's fine. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so yeah, so as I was talking about, so I think the applications for this Swift is pretty fun because like other programming languages, so I have seen that I have worked on Android, I have worked on the .NET platform, and taking a look at the logs and finding the errors in the program, it is very tough in those programming languages. I would not say tough, but it is it will give you a lot of headache. But finding the errors in the Swift and taking a look at the logs and immediately getting the error is, so you can debug the errors more easily. So let me give you the example of that. So let's say I'm writing a code, and what does it do? Basically, it downloads the movie details. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the live debugging. So you can see over here, I'm using some library for performing the network operations, which is called as Alamofire. So what does it do? Basically, it downloads the data from the network, and when the data is successfully downloaded, it is going to call a method called as parse movie response. So let's say I want to take a look what it is basically downloading. So what I can do, I can just put a debug point over there. I'm going to run the application, and immediately when you will see the output, so whenever you get the output, immediately you will see that the control has been reached in the method. So the debugging is very fast as compared to other programming languages. And what I can do is I can just place button key. So what it is going to do, it is going to go on the next statement. Okay, so what I can do, I can just put a breakpoint on next line and I can press run button. And now what I can do is I can take a look at the movie JSON array. Okay, so you can see. So the beauty of Swift is, in fact, I would say beauty of the Xcode. So if I just hover my cursor over that particular field, it is immediately giving me the value on the fly. I can just click on that I, and it is showing me what type it is, and I can just expand that particular section, and it is saying that it is getting a dictionary. So dictionary is something like hash map, and it is saying there is a key called as watchers, and value is null. So there are no watchers, but it is also giving me key as movie, and the value is, so it is giving me some value, and I can dig into that and I can see what are the values which are present over there. Okay, so the beauty of this particular thing is, so what I can do is I can just do the on the fly debugging. So I can immediately see the what are the outputs that are coming over there, and it will show me. So you can just expand the sections and you can see the values which are coming over there. Okay, so these are the few of the things. I can also say something like PO and movie JSON array dot count, and if I try to execute that particular statement, you can see I'm finding the queries on my variables, and immediately it is showing me the output that okay, so the movie array count is 50. Okay, then I can say something like PO. So I'm getting the array. I want to go on the 0th index. Then I want to search for the key called as movie, and inside that there is one more key called as title. So you might find it little complex, but it is basically a hash map inside hash map. So, and now you can see. So if I want to query about the first element, I want to see what is present in first element. So sometimes you might get the output, but basically you want to check that. Okay, so you are getting the same output which is you are receiving from the network. So here you can see I can simply print the title, and it is saying that okay, so title of the first movie is episode 6, something like that. I can say 16th, press enter, and it is saying that okay, the title of the 16th movie is The Transporter Refuel. So you can see the debugging is very flexible over here. I can just go to the next breakpoint, and now I can say, oh sorry, PO title. It is showing me the title. I can say image URL, and it is showing me the image URL. I can just grab that particular URL. I can go on the network, paste that URL. Oh sorry. So it's in double quotes. And you can see. So we are getting the image for that particular URL over here. Okay, so you can basically debugging is very much easier as compared to the other program language which is provided by this Swift. So basically this program is using Alamofire. So Alamofire is the third-party elegant HTTP library which is used for performing the network operation. So as a part of the course, you will also be learning the Alamofire, how you can use that. Then Haneke Swift. So Haneke Swift is basically a library which is used for downloading the images from the network. So we are going to take a look at that also. Then there is something called as Swift JSON. So when you get the output from the network, it will be mostly in the JSON format. So Swift also provides us the library to basically pass those contents which are present in JSON format over there. Okay, and now I would like to basically take a moment and explain you about the course structure. So the course is going to happen only on the weekends so that you can spend more time on the weekdays and practice out the concepts that are you will be learning in the weekend. So every weekend, so every Saturday and Sunday you will be having 3 hours of class. So like on the weekends you will be having the 6 hours of class. You will be having 20 hours allocated for the assignments. So at the end of every module, you will be getting the assignments, and you will be working on those assignments, and so you will be getting 24/7 support. So whenever you have the queries, whenever you have a doubts, please feel free to drop a mail to me as well as support@edureka.co, and we will get back to you with the proper solution. So you'll be working on the practical project at the end of the course. So we will give you the 100% guidance on how you can basically work on that project, how you can basically get the output. and at the end you will be submitting that project to us. We will evaluate that project. We will see how better you are writing the code, and based on that we will be giving you the certificates, and ultimately those certificates are going to add the value to your curriculum basically. Okay, so these are the things that we'll be doing. So let me give you the overview of the syllabus. Okay, so basically our syllabus is divided into 10 modules. Each module is of 3 hours. So we would be starting from understanding Swift. So we don't expect you to have any basic knowledge of programming also. So even if you are the beginner in the programming, you would enjoy this course because we are starting right from the scratch. We are not assuming that you have some basic knowledge of programming. But in case if you have some basic knowledge of programming, like object-oriented programming, you will find this course much more easier to follow. So we will start right from how you can install the tools, how you can write hello world applications, how you can declare the variables and all. We will see how you can work with the collections. In the collections, you will be learning to basically declare NS array, dictionary, set, which are some of the essential collections. You will see how you can write the functions, generics and all. We will start with the iOS development basics. So you'll be learning to create the iOS application. So module 3 is basically where you will be start creating the actual iOS applications. Module 1 and 2, it will just brush up all the Swift skills. In the module 4, we will see how you can create the advanced UI using the storyboards. In module 5, we will see how you can design the widgets which you see on day-to-day basis, something like settings, table view, how you can create the applications using multiple views. Module 6 is very important where you will be learning how you can create the universal applications. So what is meant by universal applications? It means that application will run on both iPhone as well as on the iPad. So we will see how you can create those such kind of applications. You will see how you can work with the camera. So programmatically how you can capture the screenshots, sorry, not screenshots, capture the images and all. How you can work with the size classes. In module 7, you will be learning to basically how you can animate the apps because the beauty of the application lies in the animation. So we will learn a lot of animations. You will be learning how you can incorporate the maps inside your iOS application. They are ultimately going to add the value if you are going to create the location-based application. In module 8, you will be creating application, something like movie application, where it will be fetching the data from the network and showing inside the app. In module 9, you will be learning about the data persistence and the storage. So you will see how you can basically persist the data on your iOS device. Because that is very important because a lot of times you will be required to store the data on the iOS device. So there are a lot of options available out there and we will see those. It will also involve learning core data, which is one of the most important framework in iOS, which is used for performing the database operations. So we will be learning that. And finally, in module 10, we will see how you can store the data online. So in case if you want to have the server, but you don't have the enough expertise to write the server-side code, what you can do is you can just use the built-in servers provided by the Facebook as well as Parse. Sorry, Parse is basically now acquired by the Facebook. So CloudKit is developed by the Apple. So we will learn two servers, CloudKit and Parse. So we will see basically how you can utilize the power of those servers and create the network applications. Okay, so this is the rough syllabus of the iOS application. So basically, we are making sure that whenever the new things are coming up in Swift, we are trying to update our syllabus. So we can give you the 100% guarantee that whatever things that you'll be learning, those are pretty new and those are being used in the market. So none of them are the outdated things over there. Okay, so guys, any question based on the syllabus? Any queries, any doubts you have in the syllabus? Okay, so it seems there is no doubts. So again, guys, if you don't have any doubts now, but if you feel that you want to ask some questions, you want to ask some queries, so what you can do is you can always drop us your queries on support@edureka.co. Okay, so I'm just going to write email ID. So email ID is support@edureka.co. Okay, so you can always drop us your queries on support@edureka.co. In case if you have any technical queries regarding course or regarding syllabus structure, you can always reach out to me on vipul@edureka.co. So if you have any queries regarding course or any contents you would like to have in the course, you can always drop a mail to me as well as to the support@edureka.co. Okay, so thank you very much, guys. I hope you enjoyed this particular webinar, and I'm looking forward to see you all in our upcoming batch. So thank you very much, guys. Have a great day. Bye. Good night.